professor made me write my entire final project in ICU. TLDR. Got admitted to the ICU and was not able to complete my essay on time. Sent message to inform professor multiple times, but they never acknowledged it and demanded me to turn in my work. I ended up writing the entire essay by hand to passive-aggressively guilt them. I know. The title sounds intense, but there is no way I can make it less like a clickbait. 'Cause it is what it is. So back in early December I started to feel sick. Not sick, but I have not been able to eat a lot and lost around 8 kilograms of weight in 10 days. I will admit that I am fat and was kinda happy that I just magically dropped weight. I was blaming it on too little rest. I just didn't get used to the food here in the US. Came here from another country for college. Quote. Or, I might have digestive problems. Might need to check them out. It was on the 13th that everything just suddenly went downhills. I woke up exhausted, sweating, and not being able to eat anything other than drinking bottles and bottles of water. It lasted for the entire day until 10 p.m.-ish. I started to feel like I'm about to pass out. So I went to an ER nearby with my roommate. Well, in short, I had COVID. As well as a certain life-threatening thing going on. I'm not going to name it, but some of you might be able to tell from above. I had immediately a bunch of IVs put in and was moved to one of the ICUs. I lost consciousness as soon as I arrived in the ICU and didn't wake up until the next morning. And for the next 48 hours or so I have been slipping in and out of consciousness. My doctor wanted me to sit in a chair instead of laying down all day, so pretty much all day I was just passed out in a chair. I can vaguely remember dropping my phone on the floor and I didn't even have the energy to pick it up. Now all that was the build-up. On the third day, when I finally felt better, I went on my school portal and saw a new message from one of my professors telling me that I'm late for turning in my essay for the final project. 'Cause it was finals week. Duh. I know I had the essay 80% completed and it was in my laptop, which was packed and sent to a friend's place by my roommate. Because we were moving out of our dorm room at the time. And that friend happened to be out of town in NY celebrating New Year. And even if my roommate got the laptop somehow from the friend's place, they wouldn't have been able to hand it to me because I had COVID and they didn't allow visiting. So yeah, everything was fucked. I explained the entire situation to the professor in a long, fully written out message, and they never responded. Fast forward a few days. The professor contacted me again, this time via email, to ask about my assignment. Their entire message was like, my name. Where is your project? Quote. I was triggered. I was mad. Well, to be honest, I wasn't in my best mental state because of what happened in the past few days. So I pasted my entire message that I sent to her in my email responding to that, just in case she hadn't read it in the school portal website. She went something like, well, too bad, I'm going to have to fail you on this project. 'Cause it has been assigned 2 weeks ago and you should have done it then. Ma'am, I could have totally finished it before the deadline if I wasn't in ICU and in a coma for 2 days. Without my laptop. The doctors ended up deciding to keep me for a few more days after I'm no longer in danger. And hell did I make good use of that. I asked for a bunch of paper that, of course, had the hospital's name printed on them. I wrote my entire essay again, by hand, on them. When you write the same piece of text the second time, trust me, it becomes way easier than the first time. I made sure to write as neatly as I can, trying my best to guilt them in every way possible. Then, as I promised in my response, I took a picture of it, making sure that I accidentally included my hand that is swollen with the IV plugged in and a bit of my hospital robe. They call it a Johnny? And sent it away. I sent the assignment to them on December the 17th. Not until yesterday, way after the semester has ended, that they called and kinda sorta apologized. I was too busy to check my messages because finals coming up, so I barely looked at your explanation. Blah blah blah. I've no idea where they got my number. But fine. I'll take it. As of now, I have decided to gap the spring semester and go back to my home country for a bit. My health has been greatly affected by what happened, and going back home to take some rest might be good for me. I also get to spend some time with my mom, who has been very anxious since the first day I had the medical incident. The end. Now that I think about it, I could have typed it on my phone. But what's the fun in that? Especially when I have 72 free hours with nothing good to do other than watching TV news all day? This reminds me of the Reddit story where the op had to go to a medical appointment. And when their boss insisted on them attending a Zoom meeting, they did. On a trolley and wearing a hospital gown. I hope you contacted the head of the department, student services, and the president in your school. Being in a hospital with COVID should have gotten you an extension at the very least. Are you going to report them to the head of department for this? Threatening to fail you because they couldn't be bothered reading their student communications to learn you were comatose is a very big fail on their part. Their department head needs to know, because you're likely not the first student whose medical situation was ignored like this, just the first student to make it impossible to ignore. They phoned you hoping to avoid disciplinary action against them. Sending you emails without actually reading your responses is not okay. Saying you should have completed an assignment within the first week of a 2-week assignment is only valid if you have a planned issue, like a family trip. You were in the hospital, in ICU. You need to pass on your email to higher-ups, including the photos with IV. Were you in diabetic ketosis by chance? Sounds very similar to my experience. I was in a real bad way. Glad you're on the up and up. Make sure to keep all documents handy, as proof that you were waylaid. Then report it to those above her along with questioning how she got your number. Being busy is not an excuse. Reading what you're sent and responding accordingly is part of being a damn adult. I would still send a letter to the dean explaining the situation and how you were treated by the professor. I had a situation like that happen to me when I was in college. And the dean was not happy that the professor responded the way they did. You are an investment in their school. Whether you are paying tuition or on scholarship, the way you are treated will reflect on their actions when you speak of your schooling in the future. The professor may hand out the grades, but they represent the institution that you chose to learn at. Your time is still money well spent on their integrity. That is important to higher ed. They do want to know, and will handle it accordingly. For future situations, I recommend to email important projects to yourself regularly as a way to back them up. As long as you can access your email, you can access your backups. Universities have incomplete policies for this. If it ever happens again, request an incomplete. At most schools it'll be up to the professor to grant it. But if the professor denies it for a verifiable hospital stay, that you document with your Dean of Students office, then you can probably appeal it and win. Even if you are taking a gap semester, you should follow up with the department head and dean about this situation. The professor needs to be reprimanded. My BF is a college professor and this should never happen. Talk to your SAS department and the guy will get anywhere from a slap on the wrist to fired based on your college. For anyone else in their situation, contacting SAS is the first move you should make when they don't give you leniency. As a former college professor, I just want to say I feel your pain, and this pandemic sure has unearthed the buckets of shit scattered around my erstwhile profession. You should absolutely launch a complaint to the dean and your academic advisor at the very least. That is unacceptable, and the professor should be fired at the very least. Consider getting a doctor's note as well to back you up for evidence, and take a few selfies in hospital just in case. Make sure you take screenshots of the email as well, or forwards it to a personal email address. I don't buy the prof's BS excuse at all, and neither should you. I would maybe even complain that the professor called you as well. I hope you're getting better and your break from school only improves your health. Sorry for what happened, and I hope you aren't stuck paying the medical costs. I'm not going to name it, but some of you might be able to tell from above. Stop doing this. Just stop. Either name it or don't. This was a great story. But Reddit does this cryptic nonsense constantly, and it's exhausting. Next time a professor pulls that kind of asshat, you will be failed, as I can't read your valid explanation. Send a reply and CC your dean and department chair. Trust me, they will be more than willing to cut a professor's ego back down to size with evidence of ignoring a student's plight. Note: this isn't a case where the student just got lazy or drunk and forgot their deadlines. Schools should be understanding of a medical emergency during a pandemic, for crying out loud. I would have reported this professor to the higher-ups and get that piece of shit in trouble. Dude. That wasn't an apology. There was no actual remorse in it. Report that crap to the department. Send it to the dean. This is one of those things where you file a complaint with the department chair and the dean.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. PTRcast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.